Alright, floor 9. We're nearly into the double digits here, so we're getting close to the end. I can taste it already. Taste the freedom. It's delicious. We're into the icy biome. This biome is where I know I'm getting close, and where I start getting particularly scared. The sort of cultish areas, that's where things, they get a little bit more unforgiving, but the ice areas where I feel the game really starts pulling out stops. It starts throwing a lot of elite enemy types at you. It's very kind of whitewashed and very I don't know, like sterile looking. Just the ice theme itself is kind of like, it clears everything else out. There's still a lot of decorations, little ice chunks laying around and stuff. Right here I just realized that a lot of my stuff that I was carrying around got taken away from me. I think I might have even lost some armor or something. I'm not sure whether or not that happened, but I'm just reworking all of my stuff that I have right here. See what's best to equip on Hikensha. I'm pretty much just looking for the best wit for her, since she's more or less our stationary hero. I mean, more or less, she absolutely is. That's been her thing, pretty much. Okay, we don't really need the HR manual, because that's only for, if we have a party that, goes into rooms together and we only have 2 people. One's operating, one's exploring, so there's not a lot of team spirit in this team. They have a mutual agreement to help each other get out of the dungeon, but they're really kind of, they have a system working, and it works for them, but they don't exactly see a lot of each other. Porcho, Larry, and Hikensha, they have a strictly business relationship. No battle brother sister things, nothing like that. But the other items, we had the lightsaber there. It's one of the better sword weapons. It's still below Occam's Gouge, but in its own right, it's pretty good. If we had a second swords person, it would be decent. Ken Masaki. Ken is very interesting. He's a Green Mohawk Special Forces unit, I think, or ex-Special Forces member, and his whole thing, as his last name kind of hints at, is that he's a masochist. He enjoys receiving pain in battle, so a lot of his dialogue is based on like, hey, a monster hurt me back there, I want to go find it so it can do it again. Like, just really weird off-kilter things like that he'll say. It's like, Ken, are you sure about that? I mean, things gonna bite your head off. He's like, oh no, it's totally cool, I got it. Ken's a funny guy. But he's a machine gunner, and most of his abilities, he's actually more of a loner character. He likes all of the action to himself, so all of his buffs are based around, the less people are in the room with him, the more buffs he gets. His first active, actually, it does, what are you trying to say here? His first active does divide a certain attack power between all of the heroes in the room, so regardless, you're still getting, a set bonus, but if he's just in the room by himself, then he gets, like, all of the bonus to himself, like 50, I think plus 50 attack power, so that can be pretty nice. I forget what his other ability is, but the whole idea is that he's a good loner character, more or less. And right here I just realized too late that even though I built a shop there, the merchant had already been killed, I think, by the Herna hunter warrior guy. So that was a bad move on my part to build that. So I put Hikensha back on her industry spot right there, and leave her to keep doing her thing. It's gonna take another turn before she starts operating again, but I gave it a try. Basically, I didn't explain what the shops do, but shops are really important for late game. If you see the shop as a research option, no matter at what point in the game you get it, I'd say research it above everything else, just because it's so high value later on in the game when dust is really not being given to you, like, at a constant rate. I mean, it's never being given to you at a constant rate, but, you know, when it's really just not... the game's not giving you anything as far as dust goes. Basically, if you put an operator on the shop while there's a merchant positioned in the shop, you'll get a constant dust bonus. Every door you open, you can get like 2 or 3 dust per person. I had it once where I would find 2 or more merchants in a single dungeon floor, and I would actually... I had 2 operators, so I would place 2 operators on 2 shops, and I got, I think, 5 dust per turn, so every 2 doors that I open, I was getting another room to power. So that was really beneficial in the late game when the game wasn't being so giving with the dust. It's still not, you know, like a perfect solution to dust efficiency, because if the game's just not giving you anything at all, you know, there's no guarantee you're gonna get a merchant in the time that you need before, you know, you start getting overwhelmed with all the dark rooms and all the enemies spawning from those dark rooms. But if you do happen to get a merchant, they'll teleport to the shop immediately, and you can use them for operation purposes to get more dust. But yeah, shops are very good. And they also make it a little easier to protect the merchants, because, you know, if you're just leaving a merchant in a dark room, he's not necessarily going to stay alive very long, as was very effectively shown a couple turns ago. Oh, and that thing that I just killed there, I don't know what they're called. I think there's some sort of dust anomaly, or that's not what they're called, but let me look up enemy types. Sorry, I'm curious to see what they're called, but those guys are interesting. I'm pretty sure that they have a buffing effect on all of the enemies in the floor, so it's good to kill them early. And the longer that you leave them alive, I think they get stronger. They get, like, beefier, and you'll see that either in this dungeon level or in the next one, I think, because we get a couple more of them that do that. I actually think it is in this dungeon level. We start getting a lot of those guys. But, yeah, don't worry, you'll see plenty of them very, very soon. They're gonna become a much more common thing. Not seeing their name here. Oh well. Yeah, the longer you leave them up, the more HP they have and the more damage they do. So you don't want to leave them in place for too long, or they can get pretty dangerous. I don't think they have too many detrimental effects to the dungeon itself. Like, they won't break open doors like the Herna Riders, but they're still pretty unpleasant. Trying to see if I can find their names, but oh, here we go. Chimera Keeper. That's what they're called, Chimera Keepers. Yeah, those guys are freaky. Just the look of them, they're kind of in a broken open hibernation pod. And there's actually an animation. If you look up Chimera Keeper, there's there's a little gif of them growing through their different phases. They start out super scrawny, but then they get like just humongously bulk, like for a point of reference, like I guess Left 4 Dead tank sort of sized, and they're just kind of they're shooting up out of a broken cryopod. Something kind of funny that I'm noticing about the Herna Riders, though, is that since their main purpose is to break open doorways, and they kind of ignore everything else, if we brainwash them with the pepper spray and they start attacking other enemies, their attack sound is still the same, so even if they're beating on, you know, say a little fly, or like a necrophage enemy, or if they're beating on a Herna, they've still got the sound of breaking open a door. Kind of like a... I don't know how to describe it. It almost sounds like sort of like chains being rattled. Or like the mechanisms in a door being kind of rustled up or broken down, chipped away at, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call them boss-type enemies. Oh, thank you, Herna guy. That was pretty great. That's one of my favorite things, is that they'll, for whatever reason, they'll literally follow you into a room where you're doing battle with an enemy, and they'll start helping you out in that battle. You start to develop a companionship for the enemies that you've brainwashed, and then all of a sudden it wears off and they start beating on you, and you just finish them off. But you can also get some unpleasant situations where maybe they'll follow you into a room, initially about to help you because you pepper spray them, but then the pepper spray will wear off at the worst possible moment, and they'll actually start beating you up along with whatever you're trying to fight. I'm pretty sure that happens with another Chimera Keeper that we'll run into later on here. Oh yeah, here it is. Try 3 Chimera Keepers at once, dear lord. But I'm thinking about all the different enemy types in the game. The Hernas kind of have, you know, this alert type enemy, the Herna Riders that break down doors. You have the Chimera type enemies that, you know, they get the Keepers who buff everybody else and also get stronger the longer you leave them alive. And then you've got the Silics, who, I guess Silics have a couple more enemy types. Here's what I was talking about. That guy followed me up and then started wailing on me. And that got a little dangerous, because this guy's had enough time to get a lot stronger than the others. And now I have to deal with the last one. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to approach that. And he's gotten super beefy. Yep. We're gonna have to heal Joe Larry a couple times here to take care of this guy. He's just gotten that strong to the point that we can't take him out just on our base health alone. But in the end, we managed to take care of him, luckily. It's kind of funny that that one in the middle room of the 3, he was in the same room as a artifact, so he started, just when he started beating on us, I think he was doing area of effect to everything in the room, so he beat the artifact within an inch of its life. I don't think I end up using that crystal just because that happened. Or maybe I do, but yeah. Pretty high risk, I would say. Once I power that room, it's not a big deal, because those guys cannot spawn in a powered room, I don't believe. If they spawn and then you power the room, I don't know if that gets rid of them. I don't think that it would, but I'm not sure. I don't think that particular situation, that scenario has happened to me just yet in my time playing the game. And right there we got a merchant. You saw there, since we had an empty shop, he immediately shot over to it. He teleported over. So, for pretty much the rest of this floor, I'm going to put Hikensha there. And she is going to sell to him all the extra stuff that we got on the last floor in exchange for some food. just looking through all the different stuff he has available, seeing what might benefit me most. The orange jumpsuit is a very nice armor piece. I'm not sure if that's a reference to anything, the orange jumpsuit. I feel like it could be like, I don't know, $6 Million Man or whatever it's called. The old show he wore like a tracksuit, I guess. I don't even know. I'm way out of my range of culture references. I don't really know anything about that show. I know it was parodied in Venture Bros once, that's about all I know. Was it $6 Million Man? I don't know, I've been looking up stuff this episode anyways, let's do it again. $6 Million Man. Yeah, it is $6 Million Man. Okay. I got it. Yeah, and he had kind of an orange tracksuit. Reddish orange. That's funny. Oh boy. Oh, they have a $6 Million Man remake. Well, anyways. Oh my goodness, all these Chimera Keepers. See, I guess the four major enemy factions that you find within this game. You find the Silics, you find the Herna, the Chimeras, which are the bio life forms experimented on by the Endless, and then you have the Necrophages, which are these insectoid races native to the planet that basically just want to you know, conquer everything and cover the planet in, I guess, their swarm. And they're all pretty interesting. But yeah, I guess the Silics and the Necrophages don't really have a necessary boss enemy. And not even really, they're not really boss enemies, but they're like sort of alert enemies, you know. Like I was saying earlier with the Herna Riders. I don't know why I'm waiting here for this guy to die. I don't even see his health bar here. Maybe I was... Oh, you know what happened here? I had to run down and take care of something, and I figured I could just let the game sit for a bit. So the encounter ended a lot sooner than I thought it would, and we've got this little period of dead space, so... Sorry about that. It wasn't too long, so I'm not gonna edit that out. It's cool. We don't have to worry too much about that. It was kind of funny. He's just sitting there, constantly being pepper sprayed eternally. We could just leave him there as like our half pet for the rest of the floor. But that would be quite silly. Actually, technically, I could have done that. I could have opened another doorway and just let him continue fighting off enemies until he dies. That wouldn't be a bad strategy if you had like just a couple of rooms with the remnants of pepper sprayed enemies. That would be kind of awesome, actually. And here we got Tro Pequeño. He's a very short swordsman who's very offended if you mention that he's short. So don't talk about his shortness. It's bad news. Don't want to do that. So I'm trying to decide which of these would be the best room to power. I think in the end I end up going with the science room, just because we had that spawning of 3 Chimera Keepers, you know, one right next to the other. So I figured I would split up those rooms, and I got rid of that science machine. Just because it was so low on health, I figured I'd get the extra space. And right here I think I'm wondering whether I should put down some major modules, and in the end I decide to do so, because the enemies that we've been fighting, they don't attack major modules, so I had the thought that more or less our major modules are going to be safe for the rest of this floor. That's the thing that I'm starting to catch on to, is that you really only get a couple different variety of enemies per floor. Here's Elise Ness right there. She's kind of a heavy-duty door kicker. She's in like siege gear, essentially. She's got like a Hurt Locker look going on. She could do some like bomb defusing or whatever. I don't know. But she's kind of like a borderline vigilante cop. I think Tro's getting his butt kicked right there. Yep, Tro just died. She's pretty decent, but like I mentioned an episode or two ago, my main problem with her is that she is just so awfully slow and really doesn't lend well to when you need to make a quick decision later on. And right there we got Herna Rider. He's busting open doors. I decided to take care of him before he can continue that theme. Unfortunately, another one heads down there, so... And I don't really have enough time to focus on him, so I run back to my safe room and decide to just stick it out here. But right there you can see the second doorway is being opened now. And we get some stuff for that. I decide to take care of this guy as early as I can, and then sadly this Herna hunter, he gets wise to my plans and heads in there to provide some backup. Actually, he was brainwashed a second before, so he's probably coming to help, and then decided he was going to fight me instead. It's always the worst situation. You think you're going to get a temporary helping hand, and then he starts wailing on you. And the other thing is that your characters also have sort of bias or, you know, different priorities for what type of enemy they're dealing with. In that case, I think the Chimera Keeper was a special case, so Jolari instead went for the anti-hero enemy because he's, you know, more directly impacting her survivability. Personally, if it were me, I would have just finished off the Chimera Keeper because it had like no health left, and then she could have went on to take care of the Herna guy. But you don't control every aspect of the game. The heroes generally kind of decide what would normally be best in a given situation, and yeah, they can't account for every single situation. But usually, they make the smarter decision for themselves. And if I did run out of the room for like half a second, took care of the Herna guy, would have gone a little better for me. But no big deal. We made it out fine regardless. So. I think that guy just grew a level. I'm not sure if that sound effect... yeah, I think that might be the case. Because I think he just got bigger from when we last saw him. Oh, and another Herna. Here I have a better approach for this. Instead of just beating up the Herna while getting beaten up by both of them, I lead him out of the room and then I run back in, finish the guy off. See, that's a smart decision. It takes a little time, but, you know, be patient, and then takes care of itself. And I think that little necrophage right there was running back and forth between those couple of rooms because he kept getting brainwashed as soon as he got there. So he was going to help me out, and then it was wearing off before he could get to me. Then he headed back, got brainwashed again. Just a vicious cycle. Sablaster. Sablaster is sort of like a smart bomb. I think it actually damages any of your heroes that are in the room as well. Not as much as the enemies, but it I guess it has faulty targeting or whatever is the, you know, flavor text, the description to that module. So if you've got heroes sitting in that room, they're going to take damage over time from it. So usually it's better to put in a room that you might pass through, but the enemies have to spend a longer period moving through. I should try doing a playthrough with the Sablaster at one point. It might be an interesting change of pace. Okay, they are called Herna Hunters, the big beefy guys. So, yeah, warriors, hunters, you know, same general idea. And this is actually our longest video. I'm pretty sure this was the longest video that's going to be in this series. Everything else after this point is quite a decent bit shorter. We almost get to a half hour on this one floor. And that's the crazy thing about this game, is you can really you can really end up with some very extensive dungeon floors late game. Right here I'm just checking to see that I have all of the modules researched, and I think I might. I think I have everything researched to at least level 1. I might be missing maybe one module, but if memory serves, I think that was everything. So we're just powering as much as we can now, prepping for our escape. And we'll be out of here before we know it. We'll sell this Soul Taker just to get some extra food. And since we've got that food, I don't know, do we decide to level up? Yes. So, I don't think I talked about Jolari's second ability. It's called Hold the Line, and basically it's just a group-based version of her first ability, which, her first ability increases her speed and defense, whereas the second one increases the defense of everybody in the room with her. I believe. Pretty sure that's what it does. So, very beneficial if you've got a group of mostly, fighter characters that you're trying to, stake out and fight all the enemies just, by themselves without any modules. Probably good for an armory run. I think Jolari is probably a must for an armory pod run. Just because if you're going to focus more on your heroes battling, you're going to want to have that defense for them whenever you need it, be able to pop that. But, aside from that, one of Jolari's passives, it's called Dust Thirst. I think it increases her defense for every enemy that she kills, so the more enemies she kills, the higher her defense becomes. But it makes your dust looting probability from target creatures like minus 30%, so that's pretty unfortunate. The second tier of it, though, you get a second level of that passive, lowers that probability to 15%, minus 15% instead of minus 30. So anyways, video's already over. I gotta get going. Sorry. I'll see you guys next time on Floor 10. So thank you for watching. Hope you've been enjoying, and take care.